Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas. This is how to make a game in Unity, and welcome to episode 43. So in this episode, we're going to carry on and add to our QTE system by adding in a function which allows us to count down. So, you've only got a certain amount of time before you can press the button. And then we'll move on to a little bit of randomization. So let's start by opening up our QTE system script. So we have a little bit to this script already, and what we're going to do is, in the same way that we have started a coroutine every time we press a key or generate, we're going to add an extra coroutine down here after I enumerate key pressing, and let's call it countdown. So I enumerator count down. Open close bracket, open curly bracket, and let's wait for 3.5 seconds. You can have it whatever you want. You could have a second, 2 seconds, whatever. But I'm going to have 3.5 seconds for them to actually be able to press the key. So yield, return, new, wait for seconds, and 3.5 F, close bracket, semicolon. And everything after here is going to rely on us actually having a separate variable. So up here, we're going to need to have another bool. So public bool. And we'll call it counting down. So counting down. And by default, that will be equal to false, semicolon. And if it turns true, that means that we can actually run anything after here. So if, in brackets, counting down equals true, semicolon, open, not sure why I said semicolon, open curly bracket, and what we'll do is we will modify a couple of things up here. So QTE gen, I'm actually going to put that as a number which isn't within a random range. The reason I'm doing that is to kind of spread it away so we don't accidentally generate something silly. So QTE gen equals, let's say, 5. Next, what we're going to do is, I think we're going to put let me think how we're going to order this, because what we'll do is we'll make sure we get the order correct before we go any further, because we're going to need to start this coroutine of countdown whenever we generate a key. So once we've generated it, we will actually go start coroutine, and in brackets count down, close bracket, semicolon, and do the same here. And you've got to remember that counting down has got to be set to true at this point. So before we actually start the coroutine, let's set the counting down as on. So it is going to be on. However, if we press the key in time, remember we need to turn that off. So that requires us to go down to key pressing, and if we've got the correct key, first thing we do is put counting down equals false, semicolon. But the same also needs to apply if we press the wrong key. It also needs to be set as false. So you can see the process of what's happening here. We generate the key, we set the countdown starting and start the coroutine, and if we press it in time, it resets because we set it as false again. It goes back to default. But if we don't, then this runs here and we wait for 3.5 seconds, and if it still equals to true, so we've not pressed anything, then that's where this comes into play. So we set the countdown back to let me think, so it's going to be I'll turn it off here just to test this out. So counting down is now equals false again within this, and what I think we'll do is get the pass box to say fail, or rather than incorrect. So we can copy this line of code here, paste it here, and instead of saying incorrect, I'll just say fail, just so we get a different message so we can see that the countdown, this function here, is working correctly. So after 3.5 seconds, we'll wait for another 1.5 seconds. So yield, return new, wait for seconds, just 1.5, semicolon. And at that point, we're going to need to change the correct key back to 0, I think it should be. Correct key, let me see. So we go down here. So yeah, we need to repeat this process just here. So essentially what the countdown is doing is it's another way of pressing the wrong key. You can think of it like that, really. At which point we can then copy the pass box or get component, as well as the display box get component. And remember, I think I did say last episode I may get rid of the pass box eventually, because it's just a way of seeing on screen whether we've done the right thing or not. So let's wait for another 1.5 seconds after that. And then we need to put, what do we need to put? Oh, of course, we need the waiting for key, don't we? Because we need the waiting for key to be reset back to true, because we are waiting for that key. And then at the same time, we don't need to reset counting down, do we? Because that gets reset anyway. Up here. So by default, we've got it back to there. So then we change all this, waiting for key, and that's there, wait for key, so we generate the whole process again. So let's save that script. Head back to Unity, and hopefully we don't get any errors. But the process is we start 2 routines. We start the one to press the right key, and we start the one to count down. So let's try this out. If we don't press anything, we should continually generate a key to press. So when Unity decides it wants to wake up because we press play, we can check this out. Where am I? So T, I need to find a way out of this wood. And fail. There we go. So generate a new one. T again. And fail because we weren't quick enough. And R once again. We weren't quick enough. So let's be quick now and make sure we get this one right. So T, correct. T, correct. So you can see the process there is that if we do press the right button, this down here never runs. This coroutine never ever runs because it's it's waiting, but then we've changed counting down to false because we pressed the right key or the wrong key. So this bit never runs. So that's pretty much how a QTE can work, and you can modify that to work in so many different ways. It's entirely up to you how you want to work with that. Well, that's the basics of it, and that's how you would get it working, at least easily. So now let's move on to a little bit of randomization, because I did say I would like this dungeon here to be a little bit randomized. So we're going to start small. Now, there are different ways of randomization, and it's really hard to get something perfect working, because randomization is, you'll see it in a lot of games, but it's not something that's in every game that you see because there's a lot to it. A lot of the time it can be procedural, but doing procedural scripting can be somewhat difficult even at this level, because we've come 43 episodes in. So we're going to start small to kind of build our way up a little bit more. So if we add in a couple of game objects, let's say, what have we got to add in? So we've got this stuff here. So I'm going to use this for now. So I'm going to bring this in. This is something we used a long time ago, wasn't it? Let's increase the scale to 2 by 2 by 2, just so it's a little bit bigger. And I'm going to extract the barrel out of it. Continue. And let's extract the square box and the coffin box as well. And let's get rid of that. So we have 3 different objects here. And the idea of what I want to do is I want to randomize which one will appear in this spot. So I'm going to line them all up in the same area. So we'll take the square box as the default location, and let's add a box collider to all of these objects as well, just so as we have some physics attached. Add component, physics, box collider. And coffin box, drag onto square box, and barrel, drag onto square box, and zero out the position. Same with the coffin box. And in fact, I'll move the coffin box over so it's center there. And now drag them out again. So let's turn all three objects off. Like that. And now let's add a script. So let's go to our scripts folder. Right click, create C# script. And we'll call this dungeon random. So let's open this up in Visual Studio. And yes, the idea of this, like I say, is to at least generate something randomly. It won't be quite procedural per se, but there will be some depth to it. We'll start by getting rid of void update. We don't need that. And we don't need the annotations. And we'll go public int object 1. We'll just have object 1. Now, I can't remember if we've actually used random.range before, but this is the idea it's going to work. So we'll add in the 3 objects that it could possibly be. So coffin, barrel, square. So public game object coffin object semicolon public game object square object, if I actually type that right, and finally public game object and barrel object semicolon. So void start, we need to have object 1 equals random dot range, and in brackets we need to go from 1 to 4. Obviously the reason being that within here, do you remember I said last time in the QTE system random.range 1 and 3, even though we've only got 2, so 3 needs to be, the end number needs to be 1 higher. So we could use the same process that we use for the QTE. And if random dot range, so no, not random dot range, if object 1 equals 1, then open curly bracket, and it'll be coffin object dot set active true semicolon, and that should do that. That's all it really is to it. So we can do the same again. If object 1 double equals 2, open curly bracket, then it's going to be square object dot set active true semicolon, and I've put an extra one there, we don't need that. And then finally, yeah, you've probably guessed it now, haven't you? Object 1 equals 3. Let's put the close bracket there. If it equals 3, then yeah, we just need to have barrel object dot set active true, and save that script. Head back to Unity, and we shouldn't have any errors. We don't. Perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually going to have the object that we're going to attach this to at the top rather than down the bottom in the hierarchy. So I'll quickly add an empty game object to coffin box and then drag it out. F2 to rename it, and let's call it dungeon randomizer. And then drag and drop that script, if I can remember where it is. Where is it? Dungeon random there. And then we have to add in coffin object, square object, which is that one, and then barrel, and then save script. Save the scene, and press play. And now hopefully we should be able to see something appears.
Where am I?
So by default, it's a coffin there. Let's try again. And it's a square box now.
Where am
I think I'm actually going to turn off that QTE object, just so I don't keep getting that on the screen. So I'm going to disable it for now. And let's see if we can generate the barrel to appear. Nope, coffin again. Let's try for the barrel. Nope, one more time. If it doesn't appear, then you just have to trust me on that one. It will actually generate. There we go. It will
Where
generate.
am I?
So that is a way of generating, at least for now, a random object in this place. Now you could go a little bit further and generate in a random area, but we're going to do that in the next episode anyway. So guys, next episode we're going to carry on with some randomization, and we're going to kind of stick to it, and we're going to make this whole thing, this whole area here, be somewhat completely random every time we play on it, apart from a few static things. For example, this section here. And what I'd like to do at some point is maybe have a chest, something that we can open up and get a reward. So that'll be something coming in the future. So guys, until that next episode, thank you very much for watching.